Hello, and welcome to a special Easter weekend episode of The Drawhunter. I am your charming host, Kevin Cleary, and this is the only soccer gambling podcast where we don't pick any winners. We hunt for the result that pays better than most of those win bets. We hunt for the draw. I've been a sports bettor for a long time. I like to bet the draw because draws happen a lot, and they pay great. 30% of all pro matches end in a draw. It's like this every season worldwide in all major leagues and international competitions. That's not random. That's not a fluke. That's a probability. So we look for the hidden value draws where the market is pricing outcomes too heavily towards the favorites or volatility. These are the games where parity pays off in profits for you and me. Even if you want to bet on winners, and I do that too because you can't find a perfect draw game to bet on every day. Running down the games through this kind of analytical perspective is still a valuable handicapping tool. Betting on sports is about gathering as much useful information as possible so you can make the correct decision and play the angles that deserve to be played. And if you're listening to the Drawhunter podcast, thank you, but congratulations. You're already ahead of the curve. So tell a friend. Let's talk about our winners from the last episode. On Monday, we had 3 picks because of the light schedule due to the international break. But one of them was Czechia versus Denmark in the World Cup qualifying game. That ended 1-1 at the end of regulation. So we won. Yay, us. It ended 2-2 at the end of extra time. And then Czechia went on and won the game in penalties, so they are going to the World Cup. Congratulations to Czechia, and thank you to Czechia for playing your way in to the World Cup by winning 2 games via the draw. This game against Denmark, and then last week we picked Czechia when they played the Republic of Ireland. You can go back to check last week's Monday game, and that game was a 2-2 draw at the end of regulation. So Czechia played their way into the World Cup by hitting 2 draws at the end of regulation and winning both games in the penalty phase. That draw from Czechia versus Denmark paid plus 240. So cha-ching. Then we go down to Brazil and Curitiba versus Vasco da Gama in the Brasileiro ended 1-1. And that draw paid plus 250. So that's nice. That's a good win. The only game we didn't win was MacArthur FC versus Newcastle Jets down in Australia's A-League. The Jets came up 1 goal short in a 3-2 loss to MacArthur. And the Jets actually had a chance to score a goal on a penalty, excuse me, at the 88th minute of the game, and the penalty was reversed on VAR. So, but 2 out of 3 picks won at very good prices, plus 240, plus 250. Those prices are why we play the draw. But that's a pretty good week for such a light schedule also. I was telling a friend of mine, I've got a neighbor, his name is John Fitzgerald. He's a retired guy from the UK. He lives here in Southern California, near me, around the corner. And I was telling him about the podcast this week because we talk soccer. He's a big soccer fan, of course, a big West Ham fan, and versus my Tottenham. So we have a nice rivalry going on there. And told him about the podcast, and he shared it with some people. And I know we have a few new listeners from them. So welcome. Thank you for joining us if you're part of the Fitzgerald clan. But I was telling him about my unique soccer podcast here, and he was reminding me of something that I did not know about. So I guess he wasn't reminding me, he was telling me. Littlewoods, the football bookie and retailer in the UK for many, many decades, back in the 60s and 70s, had a newspaper football pool that you could enter and had rollover prizes that came up to big money sometimes. People wouldn't hit them. And he told me it's because the picks you had to make were which teams would have a draw that weekend of the local football and soccer matches. So I guess I'm kind of a throwback to the old Littlewoods football pool, and I love that connection. Thank you for telling me about that, John. And please tell more people about the podcast. Now, let's get into the games and the picks for this weekend. It's Easter weekend, so happy Easter, happy Passover if you celebrate, happy Easter. Enjoy your jelly beans and chocolate bunnies while we hopefully make some money. Now let's get into these games and the picks. Like I said, these fixtures combine low scoring averages, balanced possession rates, historical draw frequency, and market pricing that combine to give us the contrarian value we're looking for in a draw bet. These games that I'm talking about today in this episode take place April 3rd through April 5th, 2026. The Premier League won't be back until next weekend, the weekend of the 10th, 11th, and 12th, but we have some really good action in La Liga and Ligue 1 this weekend. First up, we've got Atletico Madrid versus Barcelona, and this is always a big game. It's not as big as Real Madrid versus Barcelona, but it's darn close. Atleti is plus 195. Barcelona is plus 120. They're the away favorite in this game. The draw is a fat plus 280. Ball possession rates. Atleti has the ball about 55% of the time. Barcelona has it about 68% of the time. Goals scored. They've both allowed 28 goals this season. Atleti has scored 49 goals compared to the 28 they've allowed. Barcelona is a scoring machine this year. They have scored 78 goals versus the 28 that they've allowed. In recent years have produced plenty of tight, narrow wins. Either way, between these two teams, this is always a game that's ready to be equalized at the last minute. This is an elite game this is an elite team versus an elite team. We've got Atleti's defensive structure and Barca's possession game often canceling each other out in a situation like this. In a big table, high-stakes clash like this, both of them are willing to accept a point. Atleti has 6 draws already this season. This is a classic, high-profile draw candidate that we're always looking for at the top of the table. Next up, over in Ligue 1, that was La Liga. This is Ligue 1. Now we've got Stade Brest versus Stade Rennes. Brest versus Rennes. Brest is plus 215. Rennes is the away favorite also, and you have to be wary of away favorites. The draw is plus 245 because it's not always as easy on the road as the bookmakers make it seem. Ball possession rates, Brest has the ball about 43% of the time. Rennes has the ball about 52% of the time. Goals scored, goals allowed. Brest has scored 34 goals this season. They've allowed 39, so they're a little bit underwater. Rennes has scored 43 goals this season. They've allowed 37, so they're a little bit above water, but not in a major, big kind of way like we just saw with Barcelona. Head-to-head history is interesting between these two teams. 2 out of the last 5 games over the last couple of seasons, 40% of the games, ended in a draw. This is a Breton derby with a history of both fiery and cagey encounters, and draws are not uncommon here. Brest already has 6 draws this season. Rennes has 8. Derby tension increases the risk aversion play on the and tactics on the managerial side, plus relatively close squad quality here makes this a strong draw environment. If either side scores first, the other's going to push, but both can also lock into a stalemate once parity is restored. If you get a late game parity, look for either team, quite frankly, to park the bus so that they can take a point out of there. Staying in Ligue 1, we've got Lille versus Lens, and Lille is plus 155. They're actually the favorite at home, but not by much. Lens is plus 170. So no one is the clear-cut, they're going to walk away with this here, right? And we've seen that a lot. The draw is plus 240. That's a price that we love, especially in this situation. Ball possession rates. Lille has the ball usually about 54% of the time. Lens also strong on possession, 50% of the time. Lille has scored 42 goals this season. They've allowed 34. Lens has scored 54 goals this season. They've allowed 24. So they're both strong teams. Lille is a little weaker on defense. They're both strong offensive teams. 2 out of the last 6 games between these two teams ended in a draw. 3 out of the last 9 games between these two teams ended in a draw. You're seeing there's a pattern there. There's about 33% of the games between these two teams end in a draw all the time. This is a northern France derby, a derby du Nord, as they say. It's a very competitive derby between these two teams, and multiple draws and 1-goal games, as you can tell, between them over the last couple of seasons. Lens only has 2 draws this season. Lille has 5. But these are 2 strong, well-coached sides with European night ambitions and similar levels. This Derby du Nord intensity, plus a very tactical respect for each other, often yields these tight margin games. I think 1-1 is a very live, exact scoreline for this game. And I see this as one of the best draw candidates of the whole card this weekend. Now let's go back to La Liga. On Sunday, Deportivo Alaves is playing Osasuna. And you know me, I love Osasuna because they bring the draw. Deportivo is plus 150. Osasuna is plus 190 on the road. The draw is plus 220. It's a little thinner than the other games, but I think we're onto something here. Ball possession rates, we've got 50% for Alaves, 46% for Osasuna. They're both underwater on their goals. Alaves is 30 goals scored, 41 allowed. So they're really underwater. Osasuna has scored 34 goals, but allowed 35. So they're barely underwater. They can maybe get a couple of breaths of air while they're treading out there. Head-to-head history has been very tight between these two teams over the last 2 seasons and longer too. But 2 out of the last 3 games these two teams have played has ended in a draw, 1-1 draw, as a matter of fact. 4 out of the last 12 games have ended in a draw. This is a Basque-Navarre rivalry with several low-scoring draws historically going back years and years. A lot of 1-1 results between these two teams. They each have 7 draws so far this season out of 29 games played. These are 2 compact, hard-working sides with very similar talent levels and kind of a derbyish edge to this game. To me, this game screams 0-0 or 1-1 if you like betting the exact scores. I think this is an under game all the way of under 2.5 goals. And of course, the draw. I think there's a halftime draw bet that can be made here and won. I think there's a full-time draw to be made here and won also. Neither of these teams want to overcommit and lose a key, relegation mid-table 6-pointer. That's just how it is. Okay. So there you go. How did I do? Did I make a good case for these draws this week? Email me and let me know what you think. You can do that at drawhunterpodcast@gmail.com. But that's it for this episode of The Drawhunter. I am still your charming host, Kevin Cleary. New episodes drop twice a week. Mondays for all the midweek action, like I mentioned before, and Thursdays like today for the weekend slate. Once again, please subscribe to our show at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and tell everybody else that loves soccer about our show so they can subscribe too. Again, if you have any questions, comments, or complaints, email us at drawhunterpodcast@gmail.com. I don't think after going 2 for 3 this week, I'm going to get any complaints, but I'd love to hear some feedback. From the entire Drawhunter team, thank you for listening and spending some time with us today. Remember, though, there is no stopping it. Draws happen. Gambling involves risk. Please gamble responsibly. This show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. No guarantees are made regarding results or financial gain. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. You must be of legal age to participate in gambling activities. Check your local laws and regulations before placing any bets. And lastly, this podcast was made by humans, except no substitutes.